Hello everyone, this is the program Moscow Mosaic, and I'm the host, Mike Gibson. At the end of the summer, delegations from all over the world came to the Russian capital to discuss the development of transport. We couldn't miss such an important event. Together, we will visit this forum with you. Welcome to the International Transport Summit. On today's program, the links between transport infrastructure and the urban economy.
Transport development is not just about transport, it is about the development of the economy as a whole.
What foreign visitors think of Moscow's transport complex.
I think Moscow city has a lot of advanced technologies, especially in the transport system.
Transport sightseeing tours of the Russian capital.
I think the guests are very interested. We got a lot of questions in advance.
Among the participants of the summit are heads of cities, ministers of transport and digital development, heads of companies and infrastructure development specialists. There are more than 100 guests from 29 countries in total. The summit is the largest expert platform for solving urgent transport problems in megacities. The business program for this year's forum includes trends in the development of the transport sector and international exchange of experience and cutting-edge technologies, as well as the creation of new ties in the field of urban development. The summit is organized with the Department of Transportation and Roadway Infrastructure Development of Moscow, in cooperation with the Department for External Economic and International Relations of the Russian capital.
I would like to welcome you once again to the third International Transport Summit. It's great that despite all the political disagreements, despite all the turbulence that is going on in the world, we, the people who are responsible for the life of cities, who are responsible for the comfort and quality of the lives of our city residents, can meet and discuss these extremely important things.
Home to 15 million people, Moscow is one of the world's largest megacities. The city's Department of Transport and Road Infrastructure Development faces a challenging task: to simplify and accelerate the daily movements of the capital's residents and visitors. The Moscow government plans to reduce travel time within the districts to 30 minutes, and within the Moscow Ring Road to 60 minutes. The city's transport complex is based on a railway framework: the metro, the Moscow Central Diameter, and the Moscow Central Ring. Over 13 years, the number of stations in the rail system has increased from 182 to 431. Since 2017, ground transport in the capital has been electrified. Today, more than 2,000 Russian-made electric buses transport passengers. Last year, regular river transport was revived. The ships are also fully electric.
There are naturally things that we are actively involved in. An area with more to do on a daily basis, shall we say, is of course road safety. Although Moscow is a leader in road safety, we believe that the number of accidents involving motor vehicles is unfortunately quite high. So it would be great to share information with you, to listen to you, maybe to your suggestions for Moscow in terms of road safety. We would be greatly appreciative of your expert opinion and your sharing of your experience on this very important issue.
In 2022, the United Nations recognized Moscow as the world's best megacity in terms of infrastructure development and quality of life. At the same time, the transport system is not only making it faster and easier to get around the city, but also making the most of the capital's space. Where modern highways go, developers follow, land values rise, new residential neighborhoods and business complexes appear. All this stimulates the development of the city's economy, says Sergei Chiromin, Minister of the Moscow City Government and head of the Department for External Economic and International Relations. An important part of the city's infrastructure is the smart transportation system.
Our colleagues at the Department of Transport have created a unique system that today allows not only to manage all traffic flows effectively, but also to ensure high levels of public mobility and road safety. And most importantly, it has become a very interesting business project, as this system generates a lot of money for the city budget and has paid for itself in just a few years. Thus, investing in infrastructure is not a simple waste of money, but ultimately it is a very effective social investment. And I have to say, the way Moscow is doing this is a great example that we want to share with our colleagues from different megacities and, of course, from different countries around the world.
Last year, Moscow, Beijing and Manila signed an agreement on joint participation in the Urban Transport Data Project. The main goal is to develop and improve the efficiency of transport systems. Urban Transport Data is an international analytical platform designed to collect, analyze, visualize and publish transport data for the world's cities. It includes a news portal, a professional forum for experts, and a knowledge base on urban transport. The project was actualized by the International Analytical Team of the Moscow Transport Complex and the city's Department for External, Economic and International Relations.
Our experience shows that sanctions, without a doubt, have had no impact on our cooperation in the sphere of transport development. Last year, I am delighted to say that we signed an agreement with our partners in megacities such as Beijing and Manila to create a unique digital platform for sharing urban transport data.
Urban transport data helps to identify best practices for cities to improve transport and to summarize trends in the development of the transport sector. At the beginning of the international summit, 9 more foreign megacities joined the platform. They include Antalya, Bangkok, Harbin and São Paulo.
Today's forum once again shows, or shall we say proves, not only to Muscovites, but also to all our guests who have come to this international forum, that Moscow is undoubtedly a leader in the field of new transport solutions. An absolutely universal, human-friendly transport system, technologies that we can certainly pass on to other states. Now, without a doubt, we see that technologies are moving from the west to the east. And this consolidation, the documents that have been signed, including joint statements, show that Moscow is becoming a center for new technological solutions.
At the first session, guests of the summit were introduced to the capital's transport complex. It ferries more than 16 million people in Moscow every day. In addition to the so-called rail frame, buses and riverboats, it includes taxis, which serve more than 1.5 million people every day. The average arrival time of a car is 4 minutes. Another form of transport in Moscow is car sharing. There are about 36,000 cars, each of which makes 5 to 6 trips a day. Other means of individual mobility are also being developed: bicycles and scooters. The summit is an expert platform for solving urgent transport challenges facing all megacities throughout the world. To find out more about the transportational challenges facing Moscow and other megacities today, we spoke personally to the first deputy head of the Moscow Department of Transport, Roman Latipov.
You know, the difficulties are actually quite typical for everyone. If we look at Moscow in 2010, what will we see? We'll see big traffic jams every day, 9 points, 10 points. All we see now is that the number of cars registered with the transport authorities has grown 1.5 times since 2010. So people are still buying cars, wealth is growing, but there are 100,000 fewer cars on the road every day, not 2.5 million, but 2.4. This means that people are using public transport every day, even if they have a car or two in the garage, because it is faster, more convenient, and ultimately cheaper. Global trends are similar. Rail transport is always developing as a mainstream framework. That's the first instance. The second is that there are measures for the use of private cars. These are toll roads. We also have Bagration Avenue. There's a toll transit on the FFM when I drive around Moscow. That's paid parking. So that is the second part. And the third part is digitalization and customization of the service for the people. We are trying all over the world to adapt the service to the people, to dynamically change the performance of the buses, so that if we see the flow has increased, we send more buses. This is being done everywhere, and many cities have been doing it for a long, long time.
How do you assess the interest of foreign guests in Moscow transport?
I think the guests are very interested. We got a lot of questions in advance. To be honest, we redesigned the program several times because people wanted to see more than just one thing. For example, Brazil is very interested in river transport. Guests from China are interested in the metro system. They want to see the underground, electric buses, ultra-fast charging. They have a slightly different system of night charging. They charge at night and then drive for a long time. We charge during the day with ultra-fast charging along the way. The guests are all very open. We are trying to be open. We already have 15 cooperation agreements, data sharing agreements with the ones we signed today. We are like cities. We are not in competition with each other. We can share data. This allows us to get better, to look at each other's benchmarks, and to change to make cities more comfortable for our residents.
The plenary session of the summit was dedicated to foreign experiences. Delegations presented their projects for the development of transport systems. They shared common problems and solutions. For example, Antalya, the twin city of Moscow's southern district, is home to more than 2.7 million people and about 1.5 million registered cars. In addition, 26 million tourists visit the city every year. All this leads to the problem of traffic jams on roads. To solve this problem, Antalya is implementing a program to develop transport accessibility. Authorities plan to increase the city's airport capacity by 50%, and since 2009, they have been creating a rail system similar to the one in Moscow. They are building a light metro based on the monorail.
I think these meetings in Moscow are very important. This is the second time we have been to a transport summit. Last year we were here, and this year we also came. It is very important for us to study all these presentations that my colleagues from other cities have made, and also from Moscow. Every time we come to this summit, we learn something new from the experience of Moscow and other countries.
In Dubai, artificial intelligence and new technologies are playing a key role in solving traffic problems. In this emirate, the transport complex is managed from dedicated centers that are responsible for all road infrastructure. Information from surveillance cameras is analyzed, and traffic lights change color according to the current situation on the roads. This reduces traffic jams and accidents and speeds up the response to traffic situations. Beijing pays a great deal of attention to green transport, restricting the movement of internal combustion vehicles, giving priority to urban transport with dedicated lanes, and developing links between different parts of the city and suburbs. Like Moscow, the Chinese capital is trying to connect all types of urban transport into a single convenient network and ensure transport accessibility to remote areas.
Transport development is not just about transport. It is about the development of the economy as a whole. And for our economy, of course, transport plays a big role. I see that the Moscow government has done a lot of work on renovating and reconstructing the transport complex compared to what I've seen in the past. And of course, it's an extremely difficult situation now, but I truly believe that in terms of construction and in terms of the proportion of the use of different modes of transport, in terms of tariffs, shall we say, we have to achieve a balance here. Now, what I mean here is, in other words, it is possible to regulate our transport system in such a way as to make the best and most efficient use of these resources.
This year's Transport Summit was attended by a delegation from the AIM Congress Foundation, one of the world's leading investment forums held annually in Abu Dhabi. The president of the foundation highlighted the important role of smart cities and energy systems in economic development and building the sustainable megacities of the future. The speaker paid particular attention to the development of parking systems and charging infrastructure for electric cars. All this can be achieved thanks to the collection of data by cameras or sensors on the roads. How has the experience of Moscow City helped influence some of the ideas in the Middle East?
I think Moscow City has a lot of advanced technologies, especially in the transport system. And the city, with the amount of population that they have a great, metro system. And as we heard from the deputy governor today, that they are implementing a new line between Moscow City and St. Petersburg, and also, as you hear, that basically Moscow City is 100% electric buses. They have 2,000 electric buses, and they are looking into using in the system yearly about 500 more buses, electric buses. And this means that the government, and the city has really, a proper agenda and a proper vision how to turn the city to be more, environmental friendly and use the best, technologies into becoming a proper futuristic city.
How do you feel about the conference today? What is your impression?
The conference is great. It's my second year, and I find, when a lot of cities, they share their, ideas, they share their practices. We learn, and we also are here from United Arab Emirates, from Dubai, to share our experience and to really, also support other governments to learn what we are doing, because we are doing great job. And I think, what our government, what our cities is doing is great. So why not to share it with the rest?
At the end of the first day of the summit, delegates went on a sightseeing tour to get to know the city's transport attractions. The tour began with a walk along one of the capital's main streets, followed by a visit to the Moscow metro. In addition to the business program, 3 thematic routes were prepared for the participants, which will introduce the guests to the achievements of the capital in the field of transport. We are the only film crew that was able to go on this mini trip with the international delegation. The tour started at Tverskaya station, where the foreign delegates, together with the leadership of the city's Department for External, Economic and International Relations, entered the Moscow metro for the first time.
You and I are now at the station of the Zamoskovskaya line. This is Tverskaya station. This station was opened on the 11th of September 1938 as part of the Gorkovsky radius. Originally, Tverskaya station was called Gorkovskaya. Now, let's go on to Mayakovskaya station.
The summit's guests were introduced to both historic and modern metro stations. The route consisted of 8 stations. And this is Mayakovskaya, one of my favorite metro stations in Moscow. After Mayakovskaya, the delegation traveled along the Kaltsevaya and Kalushka-Rishka metro lines. They got acquainted with the longest metro ring in the world, the BKL.
On the second day of the summit, there are thematic sessions and round tables. The participants can discuss concrete problems and look for solutions.
Before the thematic sessions began, urban transport data project participants shared their experiences of the first year of operation and the challenges they face. For example, the city of Niš in Serbia. It lies at the crossroads of transport routes between Western Europe and the Middle East. Despite having a population of 300,000, the problems the city faces are similar to those faced by megacities. One of the main issues is traffic congestion and the unpopularity of public transport.
During this visit to Moscow, we saw many things that we are ready and willing to use in Niš. For example, electric buses, a system of electric scooters that are already appearing here. Electric filling stations are also very important.
What do you think of the summit, and how useful was the experience?
Of course, this summit is very useful for us. We learn from experience. We meet representatives of other cities, other countries. It's very important for us to become a member of this big family of cities that use the urban transport data system. Also, as a representative of a small country and a small relative to other settlements, we have the opportunity to meet representatives of big cities and megacities, to exchange experiences, to see how similar or maybe different our transport systems are, and ultimately to adopt the best of what they have.
At the thematic sessions, the summit participants talked more about their cities, transport problems, and development projects. One of the main participants in the international platform is the Brazilian city of São Paulo. The transport system there is divided into a state transport system, which includes the metro and trams, and a city transport system, both land and river transport. The head of the company building the city's infrastructure shared his experience of using water transport. The new river route launched helped to shorten the journey between two parts of the city by more than 5 times compared to the road alternative.
For us, these possibilities of cooperation are amazing. We can learn a lot. We can show to the world also what we are doing there in São Paulo as innovations. And secondly, because Moscow is impressive in terms of urban transportation, and we have to see that in practice. And these two opportunities were super important. And taking into account the innovation of the electrical vessels that are being implemented in the Moscow River.
Among the priorities discussed by summit participants in the thematic sessions were safety and payment methods. As different modes of transport in cities form a single system, it is important that buses, metros and riverboats are united by a single payment system. The importance of this issue was illustrated by the example of Johannesburg, South Africa, where each mode of urban transport has its own ticket. This complicates payment and reduces the convenience of use.
So for me, the meeting of minds in this conference is very important, and every time I leave here, there's always 2 or 3 things I want to take to South Africa. That is why I said to all the colleagues, can we please sign MOUs so that we can start piloting some of the things that you have, we don't have. So that's the only way we can exchange knowledge and ideas. We need to start putting this into practice. We pilot. It's not about money. It's about sharing the experiences. It's about implementation. It's about seeing the product works rather than talking about it. So for me, really, this was a very fruitful engagement and a summit. And I'm looking forward to come next year even more prepared than I was, because I've learned a lot in just 2 days.
Also, on the second day of the summit, participants were invited to visit the exhibit Manege Station, Moscow Transport 2030.
We are once again back at the exhibition in the Manege. The guests of the summit can be introduced to the past, present and future of Moscow transport.
The capital's guests were led through the old courtyards and streets of Moscow and shown what the metro and bus stops used to look like. The immersive promenade allows them to get acquainted not only with the problems Moscow Transport Complex had in the past, but also with the achievements of 13 years of development.
Two days of intensive work at the International Transport Summit have come to an end. We will definitely continue to tell you about such events in our future programs. My name is Mike Gibson. This is the program Moscow Mosaic. See you soon. Bye.